very personal thing, and it means keeping yourself alive. That's what I've been doing since I was in UP when I was an activist.
Parang sumusubok or gano'n.
For me, risk is something that you can't really prepare for. So it might be detrimental to your well-being, or you may put yourself in danger.
Yan ay oportunidad na maaari mong maiwasan o pwede kang tumuloy na mayroong strategy.
May na-entail siyang danger or parang may imminent na baka masamang mangyari? Or
It's very inevitable. So hindi mo, even though may paghahanda ka, hindi mo sure kung pasok or kulang.
dati nakatira kami malapit sa sa bangin or sa tabi ng bundok. So laging pag bumabagyo, laging yung lupa pumapasok sa may place namin. So I think lagi kaming worry pag bumabagyo kasi yun nga baka ma-landslide.
Lahat ng demonstrations sa UP, sa Mendiola, dinaanan ko lahat yan. And I was incarcerated in 1973. I was among the first na nahuli.
Sa Quezon may mga risk din buwabaha rin sa amin mga ilog.
In choosing jobs, in changing homes, even in meeting life partners. So these are the different risks that we all go through.
So just like we heard from several persons on the street with different perspectives when it comes to risk, our team members also come from different walks of life. I am Benny Pacheco, a structural engineer, and let's meet the rest of the team.
My name is Doy Rosete. I'm a visual communicator.
I'm Vici Mendoza. I'm a psychologist with a lot of work in traffic psych.
I'm Lenny Ke, educational technologist.
I'm Mark Zarco and I'm a geotechnical engineer.
I'm Maida Tuin. I'm an art historian. I'm doing studies on art and ecology.
So you may be wondering why we get together, how do we get together to discuss the same topic of risk sa DRRM. Mahaba yung pangalan, no? Disaster Risk Reduction and Management. So mabuti siguro sa ngayon, mag-concentrate muna tayong pag-usapan yung risk. Ang daming sinabing ibang definition ng risk o example ng risk, yung ating mga persons on the street. Yung isa nga ang pinag-uusapan, meeting life partner. Can you relate to that, Doy?
Well, talagang risky yan, dahil nanggaling din ako dyan. At ang pinag-uusapan natin tungkol sa risk, of course, kahit sa panig din ng sining visual, may risk talaga yan. Dahil maaaring hindi nabanggit dito sa mga video natin, na yung risk, ginagawa talaga yan ng isang artista dahil gusto niyang maging magiging iba yung kanyang ginagawa. Kaya risk talaga yon.
Napanood ko yung sinabi ng isa din na yung risk positive may pwedeng reason to go into it. Kaya parang hindi naman pala lahat ng risk negative. I wonder how psychologists look at risk.
Well, ang risk talagang probability yan na may masamang mangyayari. Kaya lang, yung action mo in the presence of risk depends on your hierarchy of values. Di ba, Mark, halimbawa, kung may sunog, damit mo o buhay mo?
Definitely, I'll go for my life.
Kala ko damit.
Ako damit. O nanay mo, buhay mo.
I would still say my mother.
So, depende kung ano yung at risk.
Yes. And what you value, I guess.
Sa art, I hear, nabanggit nga ni Doy na artists take risk. So, art is a risk-taking profession. Ang tingin nyo, how would it differ from yung risk na sinasabi ng mga persons on the street?
Well, sundan ko yung kay Dindoy, ang mga artists, particularly contemporary artists, pinupush talaga nila yung envelope. And sa pag-push nila ng envelope, may risk doon, no? Maaaring hindi magustuhan nung nanood, maaaring hindi, kung sila ay active sa art market, maaaring hindi sila mapili kasi risky yung ginagawa nila, masyadong bago o hindi ganun ka-popular. Pero pag natanggap na yon sa hinabahaba ng panahon, nagbabago rin yung discourse ng sining. At pag nagbago yung discourse ng sining, maaring magbago rin yung diskurso ng lipunan dahil yung sining ay isang komentaryo or expression tungkol sa lipunan.
Lenny, do you think hindi lang sa art practice, but do you think sa education,
actually,
well tackled ang risk concept?
I think, sa palagay ko, kasi hindi ba every time na mag-introduce ka, every time you introduce instructional strategies, every time you start a class or you implement an instruction, you have to test some strategies. So you take some risk. So it could be successful, it could be effective. So it doesn't really tell you whether it will be the best and most appropriate strategy.
Ikaw ba risk taker sa classroom or
yes,
you are?
Especially in my educational technology. So I really explore on lots of technologies that I can use inside the class.
So sometimes successful, sometimes not so successful.
Yeah, it depends actually on the tools or the equipment, of course, that you use.
So your tolerance level to take success, or rather to take failure with your trials in class is quite high. You're not afraid to take a new approach in teaching.
Yeah, I keep on exploring. I keep on testing these tools, so the next time, if I find it not successful, then I cannot use it.
We may have to clarify this. Kasi sabi, disaster risk reduction ang target, but it appears na not all risks are bad. Paano ba natin ma-differentiate? How do we differentiate risk that is negative mostly and risk that is a good one to take dahil baka positive?
So, makita natin from the responses of the people on the street. Iba-iba yung perspective nila pagdating sa understanding nila ng risk.
Yung po yung naka-jacket, maganda yung attitude niya. Sabi niya, basta may strategy.
Yeah. But so it's very clear that risk has a very personal dimension. There are so many individual differences with risk. In traffic, we know younger people, who are males in particular, have the strongest risk-taking strategies. But the differences in risk-taking is based on what we call risk perception. So, what is risk perception? In general, it refers to what you get from your environment that alerts you to certain risky objects or events. No? For example, the mud is very clayish, no? Or it can be a lot of rain that's been falling for a long time. But that is always interpreted from a very personal context.
Yeah.
So, halimbawa, sanay ka sa maputik na daan, mataas na pagtaas ng flood, sa Malabon, they don't care if it's, just it's up to their knees.
Okay lang ba sa inyo? Punta tayo sa disaster risk. Wag na muna yung love life risk. So that we focus on disaster risk. But maganda yung point na even disaster risk depende sa perception. Like yung maputik na konti lang, okay lang kay Maria, pero kay Pedro ayaw niya at all. So he won't.
Siguro in terms of people, hindi mo alam kung sino ba yung makakabangga mo here, and then ano ba yung dadalhin niya or ibibigay niya sa'yo.
Pag mabibilis ang sasakyan, yun, may risk. Pag lalo na pag meron yung pasaway na tatawid, biglang tatawid na ganyan.
Makikita naman yung building luma. Yung mga cracks niya, nakatago. Yan. So, isa yan sa mga risk na kapag lumindol, pwedeng magkaroon ng sira, hindi lang sa gamit, o kagamitan, pati na sa buhay.
We may not have taken into account some of the latest disasters that could happen. Like, for example, supposedly there's going to be a big earthquake. They were expecting it sometime last year and it hasn't happened yet. I'm not sure if all the buildings here could withstand it.
Yung mga upo sa sigarilyo, yung mga yung nakakabara ng mga kanal.
Dito kasi sa UP, fourth line kasi ang UP. Yun ang pagkakaalam ko, lalo na sa Sunshine Garden, fourth line yan.
Siguro pag kailangan kong mag-commute or travel, kunwari tapos alam kong prone sa baha yung area, ganun. Or kung sa Baguio, parang hindi masyadong stable yung lupa, ganong instances.
Pag malakas yung ulan, syempre yung marami ng basura. So, yung mga kanal natin, nagiging barado na. So, bumabaha na siya. So, hindi mahirap na sumakay ganon or mahirap na siyang dumaan.
Depende sa ulan eh. Kung let's say, typhoon, yun, malaki ang risk nun. Pero kung sa ordinaryong ulan lang, hindi naman masyado.
Minsan risk pagka malakas at saka mahangin. Yun, dapat paghandaan.
Na-experience nyo ba na yung kasama mo, kapatid mo, family member mo, ibang-iba yung risk perception kaysa sa perception mo?
Of course, yung Luzon earthquake, 1990 ba yun? 1991, ano? I was having a class with about 30 students. So, yung makita mo, because you're right in front of 30 different individuals, iba-iba yung kanilang perception ng yung paggalaw nila
lindol,
dahil
no?
sa lindol.
Okay.
So, meron iba talagang sumisigaw ng napakalakas. Meron naman iba na
Threatened.
Yung iba naman parang natutulala. Meron naman
Hindi
iba.
naman natutuwa.
Hindi natutuwa.
Tulala. Paralyzed.
So, the perception of risk is clearly varied, no? If you have a
The
collection
same
of individuals,
earthquake
right.
triggers a different
Set of
perception in different people.
And therefore, a different set of responses can be initiated depending on how you perceive it. And I think that's why in engineering, for example, it has been very important to assess the physical characteristics of risk.
Yeah, somewhere along there may be a more objective way of assessing so that your perception and mine may not necessarily clash. But kayo, have you experienced a situation of disaster risk where your loved one, familiar to you, has a very different perception of the risk at the moment? Alam mo, sa inyong bahay, meron ba kayong quarrel about this is risky in fire, this is not? Meron bang ganon? Does it ring a bell na situation? Or do you observe a difference in risk perception between yourself and, say, bata?
Siyempre, yung bata, hindi nila alam yung fire, masakit.
Maaaring hindi pa nasubukan, ano?
Hindi pa nila nasubukan. Pag nasubukan na nila, masakit pala yung fire.
Right.
Well, when I was rearing my child, gano'n. Kailangan, warningan mo palagi.
Warning. Sa typhoon, how do you perceive a signal 2? How more severe is signal 4?
Siguro yung iba, tinitingnan yan kung paano yung gumagalaw yung mga puno, kung gaano malakas yung hangin. But, of course, we have certain ways of perceiving yung ganyan, no? Yung perception lang. Pero hindi naman tayong mga standards. I don't know if it's convention standards or mga signals, especially.
In your line, it's very important to be very, how do you call this, non-ambiguous in communicating a particular signal, no, of what has been measured earlier by, let's say, engineers or psychologists. So, hindi lang risk perception or risk assessment, no, kundi para risk communication din, ano? And those are what our warning signals are all about.
Yeah, so I really wonder, do you think all people, including education teachers or teachers to be teachers, students to become teachers, well appreciated yung perception ng rainfall? What is this new tool? Rainfall forecasts advisory. They have the yellow and the orange and the red. So do you think red really is perceived to be highly hazardous or hindi pa yan masyadong well perceived?
Siguro papasok ko din dito yung, di ba, yung K-12 curriculum natin.
Yeah.
So yung, ngayon na senior high school kasi meron na silang core course on this disaster risk reduction. Diba?
Right.
So, ang iniisip ko nga, siguro dapat para magkaparehas ng pagtanaw about tungkol sa risk, dapat hindi lang siguro senior high school ang tayo mag-focus, kundi siguro dapat
Earlier.
in earlier years.
Earlier or later, even my wife would not know what the red means differently from the yellow. She was asking me.
Dapat nasa mass media yan eh. Siguro kahit sa mga palabas sa sine or yung before showing the main feature, yung mga ganyan dapat na parang educational tools para lahat nakakaintindi na yun ang ibig sabihin nitong mga signals.
So kung na-perceive scientifically ni Pag-asa na this much yung forecasted rain, sana ma-communicate din sa atin.
But sana I hope that it's communicated in ways that are practical, that are visible, and something that they could relate to, not just let's say volumes, which are very abstract to some people sometimes.
Oo. Naalala ko yung explanation ng Pag-asa about red equivalent sa 2 galon. Red rainfall forecast, 2 galon ng tubig. Medyo nahirapan akong paliwanag yun sa anak ko.
Si galon.
Galon. Sabi, sinushoot ba sa galon yung rain? But I had to explain that it really means accumulated volume over some time, like an hour. And by the way, is that all that we need to be aware of, the amount of rain, and then is that directly correlated with rainfall? Flood? Ano pang?
Well, there are also cases where you might be in a very high area, so let's say like a slope. So most likely that place will not flood, even if you had very, very high rainfall. There are also other places that are just beside the river. So when all of the water accumulates there, then it easily gets flooded, even though there's not that much rain. So there are a lot of factors aside from the amount of rainfall that accumulates over
Come to
time.
think of it, it's hard to say the whole Diliman campus is red, but some places are lower than others or higher than others. So perhaps it should be some streets are red, some streets are yellow. So more detailed than that. Yeah, ang hirap talaga ng risk, ulan pa lang yan, pinag-uusapan natin, saka earthquake kanina, saka fire. How about volcano? Do you think well understood na natin yung what a volcano can do or different things a volcano can do?
Yan ang medyo mahirap siguro. For one, wala kasing prediction.
Tahimik siya.
Bigla na lang yan sumasabog. So, it would be very difficult to come up with a warning system. Unless really there is a way to predict yung occurrence.
But if you look at volcanic eruptions, there is a certain lead time. FIVOX has a scale, a warning scale in which there are different alert levels. So unlike, let's say, an earthquake, a volcano provides some signs and before the volcanic eruption. And I understand in China, they even have animal symptoms or behavior, unusual behavior that they use to be able to tell whether or not a volcano.
We should have brought to the team a veterinarian complete. Psychologist is not enough.
Scientific basis ba yun? Animals could be used.
There's some scientific basis.
Siguro gamitin yun.
I think I would like to point out that what is lacking in the current warning system that we have is an alignment with what people that are occupying a particular location know, whether it's a fallacy or not, but it's local knowledge that, for example, an earthquake will become more risky only when a certain animal behavior is, let's say, experienced, or certain colors of the sky come out. Kasi yung brother ko, as I think I mentioned before in some of my classes, na meron silang monitoring system tsaka alert system
for volcanoes.
For volcanoes. Kaya lang, even if it's already at a very high alert level, ayaw mag-evacuate yung, because they said the crabs have not come
been
out
harvested.
of the...
They're using their own references of local knowledge. I wonder sa basic education, sa formal education, how much we have embraced the idea of introducing local or indigenous knowledge side by side with scientific knowledge in the curriculum. Are you aware of how?
Remember, parang hindi pa siya fully integrated. So, I think isa yun sa mga dapat na siguro ma-integrate or maisama sa curriculum na meron tayo.
Yeah, I remember my first year college term paper in English was about animal behavior in China before an earthquake, because they used to do a lot of research. But of course, I realized later on that it's partly scientific, partly folkloric. So it was so hard to sort out. But maybe by now there would be a better way of putting them side by side. Talk to PHIVOLCS and talk to. I think PHIVOLCS, one division, actually studies that too.
Yes.
We can follow up on them
Yes.
in another episode to ask them. No? But komplikado talaga yung disaster risk. I wonder if naka-experience na ba kayo ng risk like yung ating mga persons on the street? Disaster risk. Have you been personally affected by a fire, maybe small fire, maybe an earthquake? Kamusta?
Alala ko lang ng Ruby Tower at nakalimutan. Kailan nga.
This was in 1968 in August.
Mga viewers natin, medyo mariresearch nila yan.
I was 8. Compute na lang yung age.
Alright.
I was 8, tapos gumagalaw yung, ang perception ng bata yun gumaganyan-ganyan.
Yeah.
Tapos nag-iisa ako sa sala. Wala akong magawa. Scratch.
8
Mama,
years old.
mama.
Yeah.
8 years old. Mama, mama. Yun lang, ano nangyayari. Kasi wala naman nagsabi sa akin tungkol sa lindol
Yeah.
Kaya sa
And where
siguro,
was that location?
Sa Project 8.
Project 8 in
Bungalow.
Metro Manila.
Oh.
When we know that earthquake, the epicenter was as far as Casiguran, Quezon. So an earthquake could really affect over hundreds of kilometers. And you felt it so much.
Hanggang ngayon, trauma
And
yun na
so,
siya.
yeah, may long-lasting.
Meron lang ako napansin doon sa, pwedeng bumalik doon sa, dapat meron din tayong kahit scientific knowledge. Halimbawa yung sabing sunken garden, walang fault.
Oh yeah, nabanggit kanina yun. What do you think of that?
Ako kasi medyo may off ako sa mga mapa, pero kailangan talagang tumingin sa PHIVOLCS para doon sa kung saan nakalagay yung mga faults. Kasi may mga urban legends. Katulad sa UP library daw may fault daw doon.
Underneath it,
So takot na takot ako pag nasa library ko. Kasi niisip ko yung trauma ko nung bata ako. Tanong ko kay Doc Mark, hindi, ang fault nandoon sa may
Can you explain that again? You must have heard this from our geologist friends, right?
That the fault is actually located around 2 or 3 kilometers away down into the Marikina Valley. But there are small splays all over the campus. These are the branches.
Small branches.
But it is not the major fault. Another thing about the sunken garden is that many people think that this is where the flood will occur. So if you are there, you better not be in the sunken garden when it rains very hard because you'll drown. But actually, the flood maps show otherwise. It's a relatively high place. Yes.
Dalawa agad yung nabanggit nyo na parang urban legends about the sunken garden.
Earthquake and flood.
It's not the path of a fault, and neither is it the low point for a flood. Somehow, good palang location yung sunken garden. Ano? But siguro sa ibang episode, kailangan talaga nating pag-usapan some more yung nitty-gritty ng paano ba na-form ang flood from rainfall or where the actual faults are. Kasi mahirap din, we believe in urban legends and we get scared unnecessarily. How about you? Abang na-experience nyo na?
Well, madami na ako na-experience risk, from floods to earthquakes to even volcanic eruptions because yung nag-erupt yung Pinatubo, my garden was filled with ash. Although malayo naman ako doon, still, while driving the car, I could barely see. Kasi talagang ang kapal nung ashfall na yon. But all this to me, all these things that we've talked about, really show yung importance ng knowing that risk is such a multidimensional concept.
Maraming factors.
So may perception dyan, may assessment dyan, may measurement dyan, tapos may translation yan through communication. And it's sort of hard to start with anything or to end with anything when we're talking about risk. So siguro maganda talaga na itong konsepto ng risk ay nagiging importante ng pag-usapan. Kasi yung unang mga discussions of disasters really focused on the disaster itself. No?
It's good that you brought that up, that much as risk itself is complex with many factors, pero it's an advancement that we don't confuse it anymore with actual disasters. Disasters already happened or are happening. Risks are still potential to happen. So the idea of intervention probably is bigger, broader, more effective at the risk level. Yeah. And marami tayong episodes, but do you know kung ano naman yung local na maaari natin ginagamit na terminolohiya sa disaster, sa risk, bago tayo pumalaot sa iba pang episodes? Kasi baka magandang banggitin ngayon ano yung mga ginagamit nating local languages. Tagalog lang ang alam ko eh.
Panganib, ganyan.
Kaya peligro.
Peligro.
Or sakuna, maybe.
Walang sama sa disaster. Pumasok na yon sa lexicon. Popular lexicon.
Pwede na rin ang disaster, no?
Kasi,
As it
diba,
is.
pag kukuha ka ng calamity fund, yun, calamity is one.
Yung disaster, kalamidad, parang tanggap na, no? Ang napapansin ko, yung risk na mas bago-bago, yan yata yung iba-iba pa rin ang ating terminology. Doon sa document ng UN, yung UN terminology, somehow, in that terminology, they used, translated, riesgo or risgo. I guess that comes from Spanish or Greek of that. But personally, I could not relate to that translation. Kaya risk pa rin ang sinasabi ko. Or kuminsan, banta ng disaster. Pero that's not a universal usage. Ano?
Pero minsan may gumagamit din ng salitang delubyo.
Delubyo.
Yung delubyo, parang nangyari na. No?
Nangyari na. Parang mas disaster yun.
Parang disaster yun.
Tapos, nagamit din kanina yung sakuna. Nako-confuse ako doon sa accident and disaster.
Kasi aksidente, ano yan eh, parang random event.
May pagka-random and local.
Aksidente, chance. May element siya, may malaking
Chance.
element ng chance.
May chance din naman sa risk, pero somehow iba pa rin yung aksidente, no?
Iba pa
rin.
Iba pa yan.
But I think, ako na naman yung mag-point out, no? Yung pag-aaral sa risk, no? Hindi lang yung alamin kung ano ba yung risk, ano ba yung pwede natin itawag sa risk, ano? Pero, what is it about risk that makes it important in our attempts or efforts to manage disaster? I think the clue is the 2 R's in DRRM refers to risk reduction. And in that sense, when you want to reduce risk, you're actually aiming for safety, di ba?
Yeah.
So yun yung sa akin, yun yung parang aalalahanin natin na lahat ng mga diskusyon tungkol sa risk reduction ay patungo sa mas safe na pamumuhay, no? in the face of disasters.
And if I may add, safe not only for one individual, but safe for the household, for the family, for the community. So medyo shared sense of safety.
Parang dapat nasa everyday life na.
Yeah, maging way of life, everyday life.
Tulad noon, siguro kung nasabihan ako kung ano yung lindol, so medyo, hindi ako masyadong magugulat. Nagulat talaga ako noon. Yung gulat part yun eh. Part yun ng panic. Lalo na kung ganong edad. So siguro, unti-unti na rin ilagay doon sa ating mga anak.
So kung halimbawa bata pa, 8 taon, malaman niya yung posibilidad ng lindol. Tapos din, malaman niya na hindi naman lahat ng lindol ay grabe bigla para hindi rin siya mag-overreact. At kung anong gagawin niya pagkatapos ng 1 minuto ng lindol.
Correct.
Right. So, after 8, when you were 8, after that,
nobody
had the chance to explain to you.
Nobody. Basta nakita na lang nag-crumble yung Ruby Tower.
Naku, na-reinforce lalo yung trauma, no?
Tapos may mga naka-stretcher.
Yung media. TV.
Malaki din role ng media doon eh.
Right. Nasa media rin tayo. Maybe we should discuss this also extensively in another episode. The way to communicate not only to a small group but to the general public is so crucial, but that maybe it's also difficult, not easy.
Correct.
Let's discuss that another time. Ano? Media talaga would play a big role.
I think not just after the disaster, yung
Before,
role ng media,
even
but before sa educational awareness, media plays a very important role.
Yeah. I have a favorite topic for the media na hanggang ngayon di pa ako masaya. Can mass media explain the difference between magnitude and intensity of an earthquake? Kumusta kayo? Do you know the difference?
Bumagsak ako sa quiz ni Doc.
O yun, so kailangan i-explain natin yan sa isa pang episode, right? Dahil pag mag-report, ang earthquake ay magnitude 7.2. Iba naman yun sa intensity 7. And we need to understand, sabi nga, standardized measures para hindi tayo matakot sobra or matakot kulang. So yun, favorite topic namin yun, yung dating PHIVOLCS director, si Director Punong-Bayan, na ang first item ko sa interview ng media is to explain, sabi niya, the difference between magnitude and intensity of an earthquake so that everyone can appreciate the gravity, the extent, objectively. So we'll have to discuss that.
Pero yun yung problema na pino-point out nila sa mga scientifico katulad ninyo.
Well, scientific is logical daw and objective pero parang hindi kumpleto.
Kasi kailangan din natin yung mga nasa visual communication.
Agree.
Kasi sila siguro it was not you to explain to the media how to exemplify magnitude versus intensity. Pero kayo dapat madami na kayong ginagawa.
Mag-aaral muna kami para tama yung aming...
Aralin mo yun yung scientific basis, tapos na-translate niya to visual communication.
Para nang sa ganun, walang nawawalang mensahe.
Or ita-translate din niya sa basic education.
So nga dun sa sinasabi ni May kanina, dapat maging way of life ba yung pagharap mo sa isang ganyan na sitwasyon. Kasi kung naging bahagi na siya ng pag-aaral, simula po sa basic na education, para edukasyon, para pagdating ng panahon na maranasan nila, alam na nila, hindi sila magpapanik, di ba? Kasi alam na nila kung paano nila gawin.
Palagay niyo ba itong ating show should be watched by all ages in that sense? 8 years old or younger, but also 80 years old. You think we should address all of them? Kasi parang every age, meron something to learn, something more to learn.
Pero syempre, iba-iba yung information na mabibigay mo, depende sa age group.
Tsaka sa paraan, paano may ibabahagi yung information.
So Mark, huwag natin bigyan ng equations yung mga 8 years old. Pang 18 years old.
18.
So probably we'll use the visual cues.
Gagawa tayo ng mga drawing.
Na nararapat para sa...
Nababagay para doon sa age level ng concept natin.
Well, I think we have a lot of work ahead of us to discuss with our viewers. But I remember there was a comment din ng isang interview na dapat daw kung may delikado, risky daw pag may babalik ako sa traffic, dahil naalala ko lang bigla na dapat daw pagka may pasaway na tumatawid, risky yun. I wonder, na-pick up niya ba yun? Kanino risky yun? Was he thinking?
I guess to the driver.
Yun. Kasi parang
driver.
Kasi pag kami sa nagkakahalo yung bus risk.
At saka iba-iba yung risk. Dito naman ipapasok ko isang konsepto na bihirang maririnig, pero ito ay parte talaga ng risk reduction. Ito yung risk acceptance.
Acceptance.
And risk acceptance means not all risk is to be avoided. You take a risk because there's a reward there waiting for you, no? If you're in a hurry to get to a shoot, for example, dadaan ka sa red light, di ba?
Shoot like today? You risk losing your talent.
Well, for some people that would be, but for others, bahala na, no? So, at babalik na naman tayo, yung risk acceptance is actually a physiological event. Yung brain mo kina-calculate ano bang level ng risk.
What is at risk?
Acceptable.
Can I accept that level? And depending on whose point of view, I still go back to, meron daw busy na daan, pero may mga tumatawid. I was wondering, nakikinig ako, whose risk was problematic, risk to the driver hitting someone, or risk to the pedestrian crossing the road.
That
or
brings to mind the recent accident involving the field trip students. No?
Yeah.
Sabi ng isang survivor, yung driver daw, mabuti na lang daw, tinama niya sa poste. Kasi kung hindi, pag diniretso niya sa ravine, patay silang lahat. So,
at risk silang lahat.
At risk silang lahat. Pero, nag-decide yung driver na i-limit na yung risk na yon dun sa mga nasa harap lamang ng bus.
Somehow, he made a calculated risk that only half of the passengers in front could be impacted and the rest could be spared. Parang ganyan yata yung kwento sa mga pilots and yung mga decisions nila.
Ganon din yun sa disaster risk kasi we calculate our responses to risk based on what's acceptable. No? So again, I give the example of yung Mayon volcano. But yung mga naobserbahan ng mga kasama ko sa fieldwork, sabi nila, but yung mga babae, pag may impending eruption, patungo sila sa volcano, yung mga lalaki lumalayo. So parang isipin mo, duwag yung mga lalaki. No?
Takot sa risk.
Yung pala, yung mga babae, kinukuha, binabalikan nila yung mga anak nila sa bahay nila at the foot of the volcano.
So somehow closer.
So yung risk na yon para sa kanila, acceptable. Anak nila yung binabalikan nila. Yung mga asawa nila na malalaking mga lalaki, sila yung tatakbo palayo at sila naman ang magkukuha ng kanilang mga hayop. Mga kalabaw o mga baboy na nasa...
So hindi naman duwag.
Hindi naman duwag.
Iba lang yung nasa isip nila na at risk. Iba yung priority.
Ano yung binavalue nila?
I would ask the question, I would hazard the question, why do you think people would live at the bottom of a volcano despite knowing that it's hazardous?
Many reasons. Di ba, sarap ng kape doon, sarap ng pinya,
Simoy na
hangin.
So there must be something that they get in return, and they're willing to take the risk. Yes.
At saka yung cycle ng eruption naman, mahaba. Kaya makakapagtanim pa sila.
Yun pa, may time frame, no? Not every day has the same level of likelihood of an eruption. So whether you care for your everyday enjoyment or once in a while na disruption, you can balance and choose. I remember ko tuloy the governor, who is now the congressman, famously ang target niya is zero casualty. So just evacuate everyone, even if all the houses and all the animals and all the crops would get buried in the lava flow. Basta ang target nila is no casualty. So siguro iba rin ang point of view ng governor, iba yung point of view ng individual families.
Casualty din yung hayop eh.
That's true. And if you take the whole ecology,
kaya yung reduction doon, may reduction talaga ng loss of life.
Kasi na-save na sila pagbalik
loss of
sa
property.
livelihood nila.
That's right. Indirectly related din sa livelihood ng family.
So livelihood.
Right.
So paano yun?
We'll have to explain that to the governor. Na, sir, to be comprehensive, hindi lang po pala lives ng people. But
And I think that's what needs to change. The concept that risk is only limited to human life, but could encompass so many other things, like, of course, way of life and maybe even culture. Like, for example, in the Bohol earthquake, where you had all of these old churches that were destroyed, chocolate hills destroyed, and all of that lost in a disaster. Even though maybe not too many people got killed, still there are irreparable things of value that are lost in a disaster.
I'd like to go back to that point raised that, in fact, if you look at the whole ecology, we should mind not only people's lives, also other living things. Not even because they only serve us, but because that's the whole ecosystem. Naalala ko yung kwento about mangroves and the coastal areas being protected by mangroves.
Yes.
Only for biologists to say, teka muna, kahit yung mangroves, kailangan nating i-revive po. Don't forget that they don't just regenerate on their own after a tsunami or a storm surge. So dapat talaga deep ecology. I think we will have time to talk about that.
In short, lahat ito ay ang mga pag-aaral natin, pag-uusap ay tungkol sa sistema. Diba?
Yeah.
It's a whole system. It's not just pieces of this or that, talking just about risk or hazards. It's really taking a systemic look at everything that is involved in disaster risk reduction management.
Ecologically interconnected, pwedeng individual, pwedeng group like family, pwedeng community. Yes. And pwedeng tangible, bahay, gamit, pwedeng intangible like heritage. I wonder kung ganyang kalalim na yung treatment ng senior high school course sa disaster risk reduction.
Nagkaroon yata kayo ng
Kami yata nag-workshop.
Yes, we had the workshop.
You had the part there.
We had the part there, and we had to touch on both the human as well as the other exposed elements, as we would call them.
There are so many other things that we need to talk about.
We have to invite our viewers to watch the whole series because we shall go deeper into the factors multiplying into potential disaster risk. We should talk more about the different kinds of hazards. I think we'll talk about volcanoes and earthquakes and storms and flood and fire. And when we have time, even traffic risks. We'll talk about different exposed elements. People, obviously, but also animals, also other species of the ecosystems, businesses. And diba, we have to discuss that not everyone that is exposed is equally vulnerable, right?
Yes.
That's the last element is some persons could be more sturdy or resilient than others, or even buildings. Some buildings could be made more resilient than others. So I suppose we have to go to that then, so that we are not all resigned that all buildings are bound to collapse or all people are bound to be traumatized. And somehow, in a series of 12 episodes, we hope we can cover all those. Yeah?
Yes.
So, you'll see all of us again, several times, to talk more about the different factors in disaster risk. In the end, we will have to conclude that everything is interconnected, systemic, and that we can really just work the way we are working. We have to work together as a team from different disciplines, or in government, different departments. So on that note, let's all say goodbye for now.